I'm Dr. Amrut Anilrao Purohit, Professor and Head of the Department, Gitanjali Institute of Technical Studies, Udaipur, Rajasthan. Today we'll be talking about the entrepreneurship and see how enterprises grow in India. Now, when we talk about entrepreneurship, the first thing that we need to identify is there are two ways in which you can enter into entrepreneurship. The first one is a product-oriented enterprise. The second one is going to be the service-oriented enterprise. How do we identify the enterprise? What is that we are going to really venture into? Always remember, a service-oriented enterprise would probably cost you much less to start with. The initial capital requirement would be a smaller one. Whereas in case of a product-oriented enterprise, you would always be looking at a higher capital investment. First thing. Second thing that we look at, the service-oriented enterprise is going to take in a lot of effort because the amount of competition that you're going to face is going to be much more larger. Whereas the product-oriented enterprise would face a lesser competition because the number of competitors that you have already existing in the market are going to be very few. Now, which one do I venture into as a beginner? As a beginner, I would generally suggest people to venture into more of a service-oriented enterprise, and then later on, as and when they evolve, you can always go into the product-oriented enterprise. Now, there would be people who have a very technocratic mind. They would be more inclined towards product-oriented development or enterprise. And when people want to venture into this, there are a lot of angel investors who come into existence. Now, what do angel investors do? They give you funds, they take a share of your revenue, and then you will be able to develop your enterprise in terms of products. So what do we do now? One, either venture into service-oriented or product-oriented. Now, how do we identify whether we have to look for that particular service or a product? The task is very simple. Never ever try to identify a product or a service based on what is running in the market. Always, always, always try to identify one problem that you face in your life. Try to identify one problem that you face in your life. Once you know what is the problem that you're facing, you will be the best person to give the solution to it as well. Always remember, the problem you face is also faced by millions across the globe. So, the solution that you give to yourself will always be the best possible solution. Now, why am I saying this? For example, there are a lot of people who venture into projects during their BTech, wherein they work on blind sticks or some devices which would help someone who is, say, limping across, who does not have a foot or a hand, and so on and so forth. But all these projects stay back in their laboratories and hardly they move into the product level. Why does this happen? This happens because of one fundamental reason, that is, you are never able to connect yourself with that particular product. Why is that you are not able to connect with that particular product? You are not able to connect with that particular product because you are not facing the problem. If there is a person who is facing a problem in your family, then possibly you will be able to come up with that solution more effectively because you are looking at a perfect solution for that person. Whereas, if you are imagining things as to what is the problem faced by a person, your deliverables will always be at the minimal level. That is exactly where you need to focus on identifying the product or the service that you want to address to. Say, for example, if there is a person who is blind in my family, I would not be looking at just a normal stick which is going to be having some sort of a sensor or is a bulky device to work around. I would be looking at a more realistic solution, wherein I would want to make his hands free. I would want to make him feel the life normal. And that is where I will be able to identify, talk to him, and see that every single problem that he comes across is being eliminated. I should be able to say there is a staircase which is running up, staircase which is running down, or there's a flat ground, or there's a small pebble or a stone in his path. Predict it and tell him, maybe through the earphones or any other medium, to make him feel the comfort of life. Just by, if you go across your college campuses and see how many colleges have got these blind sticks being prepared or worked out as a part of their project, you'll find plenty of people doing it, but nothing really changing the life of the blind. If you really want to change it, you have to come up with realistic solutions. Point number one. Point number two, in most cases, we go in with, say, Arduino or Node MCUs, or take up some random microcontroller, connect a sensor to it, connect it to a stick, and show it as this is how we are going to design. But unfortunately, it does not really serve the purpose, because a blind man will not be able to carry a stick which is about 3-4 kgs, and the bulky circuit, the amount of power that is consuming would be large, and that does not really solve the problem of a blind. So what should you do? Please identify a problem that you face in your life. For example, when I did my BTech way back in 2006, hardly there were any of the bikes which had digital dashboard unit on the bike, which would say what is the speed at which the vehicle is moving, what is the amount of fuel that is existing in my vehicle, which is the gear that I'm moving, and so on. So my BTech project was a solution to the problem that I was facing. And what was the major problem that I was facing? I don't have a digital dashboard. I don't have a watch to look at. I'm not able to know what is the time right now when I'm riding my bike. This is a problem, and that is where my entire project revolved around. Because I was riding through the traffic of the Bangalore city, it was extremely difficult for me to look at my watch when I'm riding. So I felt if I had a watch on my dashboard, if I'm able to see the time, the current time, then it would make my life far more easier when I'm riding. Then I thought, when I can have a watch here, if I'm designing a unit for my watch on my dashboard, can't I have a fuel gauge indicator which is digital? Can't I have a gear indicator? Can't I have a speedometer? Can't I have an electronic odometer? When all these things were being designed and put together in a single package, that became a digital dashboard unit. My project during my BTech way back in 2006. And let me tell you, 2006 December or 2007 January, there was Honda Charisma which was being released, and that had a digital dashboard unit on it. So you need to identify the problems that you are facing in your life, then try to cater to the solutions to it, design solutions to it, either it be in terms of product or it be in terms of services. You will be able to set up a far better enterprise. So always try and identify the products or services based on the problems that you are facing and not with respect to the problems that the others are facing. Because you never know all the consequences or all the situations that the others are going through when you try to propose a solution. All major enterprises which have been successful in India or globally have been for solutions for the problems faced by the entrepreneur himself. So my request to you is always try to identify the products or the services based on the problems that you are facing and not about somebody else. In the next video, we will be trying to talk about how do we set up an enterprise, what are the opportunities that we have in the future for the entrepreneurs in India, and take things forward from there on. Thank you. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.